In the wide stretches of South Africa, there is a deep cave known as Bushman's Hole. It's one of the deepest freshwater caves in the world, and it has drawn many daring divers. Among them was Dave Shaw, a seasoned diver whose passion for cave diving took him to incredible depths. Dave Shaw was not just any diver, he was a record holder. On October 28, 2004, he dived to a depth of 889 feet in Bushman's Hole and discovered the body of Deon Dreyer, a young diver who had tragically died there 10 years earlier. Dave's discovery was unexpected, and it marked a solemn moment in his adventurous life. Motivated by a desire to bring closure to Deon's family, Dave planned a recovery mission to retrieve Deon's body. He knew the risks well. The depths in which he would operate were perilous, and the dive would be one of the most challenging of his career. But Dave was experienced and believed in doing what was right for the Dreyer family. As the recovery dive date approached, Dave prepared meticulously. He was a methodical planner, known for his attention to detail and safety measures. Diving at such extreme depths required not only physical endurance, but also advanced technical skills and specialized equipment. Dave trained rigorously, going over every possible scenario that he could face during this dive. Meanwhile, the diving community and people around the world watched and waited. Many admired Dave's courage and his commitment to bringing peace to a grieving family. The dive was set for January 8, 2005. That morning, Dave and his team arrived at Bushman's Hole, ready for the mission. With final checks completed, Dave slipped into the waters of Bushman's Hole, descending into the darkness below. As Dave Shaw descended into the depths of Bushman's Hole, his path was lit only by the beam of his dive light. The water was cold and dark, a silent world where only the sound of his own breathing could be heard through the regulators. Dave was focused, his mind was clear, as he passed a familiar landmarks within the cave that he had seen on previous dives. Deep cave diving is like exploring another planet. The environment is hostile, and the pressure of the water above can be overwhelming. Dave wore special equipment designed to handle these extreme conditions, including multiple tanks filled with different gas mixtures to help him breathe at various depths and to prevent decompression sickness. As he reached the depth of 800 feet, the bottom of the cave came into view. Here, in the darkness, lay Deon Dreyer's body, just as Dave had found it months earlier. It was a somber moment. Dave took a few seconds to gather himself before he began the recovery process. He knew that every minute counted when so deep under the water's surface. Using his training and experience, Dave carefully attached lifting bags to Deon's remains. These bags, when inflated, would regularly and gently lift the body towards the surface. It was a delicate operation. Dave had to ensure that everything was done correctly to prevent any damage and disrespect to Deon's remains. The process was slow and methodical. Dave checked and double-checked each strap and connection. As he worked, his body was using up the limited supply of breathing gas that he carried. He constantly monitored his dive computer, which tracked his depth, the time he had spent underwater, and his remaining air supply. After securing Deon's body, Dave began the process of inflating the lifting bags. He knew he had to ascend soon to avoid the dangers of deep diving for too long. As the bags filled with air, Deon's body slowly started to rise from the cave floor. Dave felt a sense of relief. His mission was nearly complete. But then, something went wrong. The bags didn't seem to be lifting as they should. Dave tried to adjust the straps and check for any issues, but his movement stirred up the silt from the cave floor, reducing visibility to nearly zero. In the murky water, Dave struggled to see the fix to the problem. Time was running out. Dave's air supply was lower than he liked, and he needed to start his ascent to avoid decompression sickness. He made the difficult decision to leave the bags and begin his return to the surface. He hoped that the slight lift he had given to Deon's body would be enough to support the team above to complete the recovery. As Dave started his ascent, he followed the line he had laid on the way down. Ascending from such depths required him to stop at various levels to decompress. This meant breathing at certain depths for specific periods of time to allow his body to adjust and prevent sickness. The ascent was slow and fraught with risks. Dave's previous calm was replaced by a concern as he felt the pressure of the situation. He knew he needed to be cautious. A rapid ascent could be deadly. After the first decompression stop, Dave checked his equipment. He was still deep underwater, with a long way to go. He thought about the mission, about Deon, and about the family waiting for closure. Despite the challenges, he remained committed to doing everything that he could. Dave Shaw continued his careful ascent from the deep waters of Bushman's Hole. Each stop for decompression was a crucial part of the process, ensuring his safety after the extreme depths that he had reached. He knew the risks of deep diving well, the dangers of decompression sickness, the challenges of managing his limited air supply, and the physical toll that it will take on his body. As Dave ascended, he made several stops, each one planned and timed precisely. At these stops, he had to wait, sometimes for hours, to allow his body to adjust to the decreasing pressure. This waiting was hard, but Dave was disciplined. He used this time to check his equipment and think about the mission. Despite the setback with the lifting bags, he remained hopeful that the recovery team would be able to complete this task. However, during one of these stops, Dave encountered a problem. His breathing became labored, and he felt a strange resistance in his equipment. Checking his gear, he realized one of his rebreather hoses had become pinched. This was serious. The rebreather was crucial for removing carbon dioxide from his breath and providing him with the necessary oxygen. Dave worked quickly to fix the hose, knowing that any delay at the depths could be dangerous. He managed to repair the equipment, but the incident had cost him precious time with his air. He checked his dive computer. It showed that he was running low on time to safely complete his decompression stops. Pushing on, Dave continued to ascend following the guideline that he had laid out. He was determined to surface safely and hoped that his efforts had helped move Deon's body closer to recovery. His thoughts turned to Deon's family, hoping that his actions would bring them some peace. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Dave reached the shallower waters where the risk of decompression sickness was less, but he was exhausted, and his air supply was critically low. He signaled to the team above that he needed to ascend quickly. The support team responded immediately. They sent down additional tanks of air which Dave used to be controlled but faster ascent. His experience and preparation had prepared him for an emergency like this, but he knew he was close to his limits. As Dave neared the surface, his heart was heavy. He knew that he had done everything possible, yet he was not sure if the mission had been successful. When he finally broke the surface, the team was waiting to help him out of the water. They quickly provided medical attention, checking his vital signs and administering oxygen. Dave was physically drained and deeply disappointed. He learned that the attempt to retrieve Deon's body had ultimately been unsuccessful. The lift bags did not work as planned, and despite his efforts, Deon remained in the cave. In the days that followed, Dave's dive was widely discussed in the diving community and among the public. His bravery and dedication were praised, but the dangers of such extreme dives were also highlighted. David pushed the limits of diving to help a friend and a family find closure. A reminder of the risks of diving sometimes takes. Sadly, Dave Shaw did not survive another attempt to recover Deon's body. He passed away doing what he loved. Driven by a deep sense of responsibility and courage, his legacy lives on in the stories of his dives and lessons learned from them. The story of Dave Shaw is a poignant reminder of the bravery and complexities of cave diving. It teaches us about the power of the human spirit and the technical challenges of exploring the depths of our planet.